Hello, everybody. This is Michael from Spades Consulting. We are going to talk about a little bit more of a political subject. Some people are losing their minds, some people are rejoicing. New York's mayoral race, Zohran Mamdani, the socialist, is going to be in charge of New York City. Okay. Now, first and foremost, I don't really care too much how people respond to this, but New York is a shithole. New York City is a fucking cancer on the country, and I don't care what anybody says about it. New York has been shit. Most of the major cities, honestly, have been shit. They've been problems, but it's where all the money is, and it totally has nothing to do with reserve banks being in every major city. But well, we're just gonna forget that part of it. We're gonna talk about socialism. Okay. Now, just right out of the gate, New York has always mostly been a socialist city. Um, I like nothing changes. Honestly, nothing really changes. Okay, but there is a good enough of a split there, and people saying, "Oh my God, it's the end of New York," and then other people who are just unreasonably rejoicing. And honestly, I really don't care for it. All right, we're going to talk about just socialism loosely as it is. Every leftist has this dream of the socialist utopia where everybody's needs are, taken into account. If you need health care, you got it. You're hungry, you got food. You need a roof over your head, you got a roof over your head. Oh God, what was Marx's line? Uh, or I forget if it was Marx or Engels. From each according to his ability, to each to their need. Okay. So, one, nothing really changes. Two, even if there is a substantial change, turning a large city socialist is not a difficult thing to do. Again, New York has been a socialist city for a long time. All right, even if people don't want to acknowledge that, it's fine, whatever. Here's the thing. All right, now I don't want to get into the pointless argument of socialism doesn't work, capitalism doesn't work, communism doesn't work. I'm just going to focus on the bare fundamentals. All right, what the hell do you even need to have a socialist society, a socialist communist society? All right. You have a whole lot of people in New York. Okay? A whole lot of people. Way too many people. You want to provide them with everything. Okay? All right. Where the hell does all this stuff get made? Just right off the bat, where does all this stuff get made? This is a part that everybody forgets, and in another video, I don't know if I'm going to end up posting it, because, I just don't exactly like how it came out, but I was talking about how we used to have, a societal pyramid, an economic pyramid, and, you have the working class at the base, and the working class supports all of the higher level specializations above it, okay? The problem is with a socialist state is, I mean, like right now, we have an inverted pyramid. We have a handful of people who are doing nearly all the work and are getting none of the pay for it. And then you have this gigantic monster of the rest of the pyramid getting wider and wider as you go to the top, because we have, if you follow elite overproduction theory, we have way too many elites. We have way too many people who expect to, instead of work in the fields, they expect to sit at a desk and push papers all day. Okay? You need an actual productive base in order to sustain something like that. And considering that through conflict with the Ruskies, we no longer necessarily have access to incredibly, seemingly limitless, vast amounts of resources. And because of the tension with China and the fact that China is trying to separate from the overall symbiotic relationship with the United States, we also don't necessarily have access to cheap labor. Cost of production in China has been rising because their standards of living are increasing. So, American capitalism, asterisk, has been moving to other Asian and East Asian countries in order to fill the gap, in order to get access to cheap labor once again. Of course, there's problems and headaches with it, and you got the South China Sea and everything along the lines with that. China trying to flex its nautical muscles, which could become a problem, especially when you look at Taiwan and Vietnam and the Philippines as an example. Now, so we don't have access to the damn near infinite cheap resources anymore. We don't necessarily have reliable access to the cheap foreign labor anymore. So your productive capacity that you can import is stagnant or falling. All right. Whilst you have this inverted pyramid of clerical class, we'll go with, that just keeps going and growing and growing and growing and growing and expects to keep growing. So somehow we're supposed to have an economy where I push a paper off my desk onto yours and you push one onto mine. And somehow that is supposed to generate value. Okay, the truth is it doesn't. And this is why socialism isn't really going to work in a city like New York. You can pull off socialism in a small agricultural area. Okay? Socialism works really well with a small town of like 1,000 people or less, and you have a handful of trained, skilled professionals who can handle pretty much all of the work in the village, the town, the small city. And you have directly surrounding, you have the hinterland, so you have food production right there. Okay? And then on a unit basis, this small town, this village, this city produces something for export. It exports it. It uses the proceeds from the exports. It could produce a whole fuckload of corn. It could produce a ton hops, grain, anything, literally anything. It could produce manufactured goods. It doesn't necessarily matter what it produces, but it pushes out that which it doesn't need so it can import things like pineapples or coffee or whatever. Okay? The primary thing here is the people actually produce something. The problem with New York is most of New York and most of the cities are fluff revenue generators. Okay? Tons of money is borrowed through the banking systems, the central banks, of course, being located right there. All right. Central banks prop up the larger banks and the wider banking system as a whole, and they are constantly backing the banks as they push out more and more loans, inflating the currency supply. And really, the bulk of what the cities, like the bulk of the gains that the cities make, are in producing a whole fuckload of money, buying things overseas, importing it, marking it up, and then making profits off of that. There's no actual production in the cities for the most part. All right. There's God knows how many regulations would you run into? Like if you had a garage in New York that probably on its own costs $500,000, if not more, and you try to set up some kind of basic production system. All right, maybe a very small micro factory or something along the lines. you will get zoning violations. You will have to deal with God knows how many headaches and how many sign-offs if you try to do it, the legit and honest way and go through the normal channels. You're probably going to run into so many headaches that you just give up because it's either too expensive, too time consuming, too much of a hassle to actually produce anything worth a damn. Okay? So, right off the bat with New York City, does New York City honestly produce enough to justify all of the imports from the hinterlands around it? All right. No, no, it doesn't. In truth, New York does not produce, as a city, it does not produce enough to justify the amount of raw inputs it would take to socialistically take care of the entire population. It also doesn't help that it keeps importing people. Do you not, like, just based on that alone, do you not see the problem? You have an inverted pyramid reliant on foreign labor and foreign goods, and you're importing the foreign labor. So who's going to make the foreign goods? Where's it going to come from? Like these are relatively small things to pay attention to, but they matter. All right. So how do you deal with the rest of it? Medical care. Okay, so you can definitely do some kind of free college program. All right, you can send people to the colleges and expect that the professors are not going to get paid, and the colleges themselves will just get water for free because those pumps will never fail. And you're just going to have universities full of people going to college for free and full of people working, training, educating for free. Okay. This happened. This happened during the Berlin Wall, where tons of money was dumped into the east side of Germany, training professionals for the socialist cause, for the socialist dream. What ended up happening is all of these Soviet trained doctors, lawyers, even although they have to, adjust to Western law, all of these skilled people on the east side of the Berlin Wall were the ones tunneling over to the west side of the Berlin Wall because the shopkeepers and the highly trained professionals on the east side of the wall were scrounging whatever they could for a loaf of bread, meanwhile, which the Soviets could barely honestly keep up with. Meanwhile, on the west side, they were living it up. All right, like one side you have the ultimate Pokemon card store, and on the other side you have dirt and grubs. All right, now given life on the east side probably wasn't necessarily horrid, but it's a thing. The West provided a much better life. Okay. And essentially, that's what you need to pull off a socialist dream. You have to eliminate all of the fluff. All right. It's not what you want to do anymore. It's what needs to be done for the good of the collective. So, people complain about the change to food stamps where you have to work at least 20 hours to qualify or something along the lines. I don't know if it's 20 or 30. I don't particularly care too much. But with socialist utopia, it's not it's not, you don't have an actual choice. You don't have an actual choice to say no. Eventually, the situation that you're going to reach, nobody's going to care about certain resources running out until they run out. And then when they run out, all of a sudden it will start to shift over to, well, shit, we need to get people working in the farms. We have to get people producing. How do we get people producing? That's it, I got it. We're going to take away their civil liberties, and the same people who were complaining about minimum work requirements are going to have minimum work requirements, most likely at gunpoint. Okay, that's how things go badly in a socialist state. Okay, because the reality is, I don't care what anybody says. The majority of labor being done in the cities is brain labor. It's paperwork. It's fuzzy bunny studies. It does not actually produce goods and services. Okay. So honestly, I wouldn't worry about New York. To hell with it. New York's always been a shithole. It's going to remain a shithole. It may get even shittier. Okay? But is it going to affect us? Well, New York does get a bunch of federal dollars. And it's just like, okay, all right, then cut them off for the federal dollars. Make them not just balance, put New York in a position where they don't just have to balance their books, but they have to balance an entire society and an entire specialization structure. Put them in the position where it's just like, okay, good luck growing on an island built on garbage. Go for it. And that's the thing. They're not going to be able to, at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to pull off something like that. And honestly, the only way that you could have a socialist New York City and have it be stable is if socialist New York City formed a war band and took over wider New York and then started moving into other states if it had to secure the hinterlands and secure its own food supply and water supplies. And oh god, I'm pretty sure that New York still has to load up tanker cars with shit and send it out into other states. Okay? Like, do you understand the insanity of that? You have so many people in one place that your water systems haven't been able to actually handle the amount of raw sewage flowing through them for decades. That you have to roll up trains and load up cars full of shit water and ship it out of the city into the hinterland. I don't even remember what the hell happens to it all, but I know that American rail systems are fucking dog shit. But I know it goes somewhere, and this is the thing, like, nobody pays it, everybody likes the fluffy ideas. Nobody wants to actually do the work. Okay, you can absolutely achieve communism or socialism, but you can achieve it on large scales where people don't know each other. All right, you need tight knit communities to make something like that happen. You need people who honestly care about each other's well being, which is the last fucking thing people care about in New York. All right, in the major cities, people are focused on me, myself, and I. They don't give a fuck about you. They never did, and they never will. Your loss is their gain. All right? Small, tight knit communities, literally post apocalyptic style. All right? Walking Dead style. All right? That could work. That kind of socialism, that kind of communism can absolutely work. But a system where you have way too many people, it goes beyond the human ability to form connections. Okay? And if you don't have connections, you don't care. That lack of caring, that lack of caring creates inconsistencies between the message and the reality, and then the walls start to come down. Because if the people on the north side of Manhattan Island don't care about the people on the south side of Manhattan Island, what ends up happening? The south side has to rebel against the north side, the east side versus the west side. All right, and then it all falls apart and it goes into chaos anyway. One major flood, what was it? Hurricane Sandy rolls through again, and a repeat of that. And next thing you know, all the subways are flooded and the pumps failed. And this takes effort, time, care, energy, and New York doesn't have those people. It really doesn't. Like, if the money stops, all right, if you did try to pull off socialist utopia, money stops, people stop caring for a little while, maybe, I mean, it could be as short as a week. Everybody's fine and happy, and they're high on the idea of, yeah, we're achieving socialism. And then the starvation begins, and that's just like, where the hell did all the food come from? Well, does New York City produce anything worth of value to honestly export to other states to justify importing, creating a trade balance to import the food supply from neighboring states, from the wider New York state or the states neighboring it? Does New York actually produce anything that the other states need? I highly doubt it does. All right, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when the trash barges of people trying to escape the socialist dream, uh, show up on your shores, turn their ass around, send them right back. Because most people, if you let the socialists take over, and you let them try their dream out, like, how many times do we have to see the experiment fail? Okay, you can create a communist South Park. Okay, you can pull something like that off. You're not doing it to a massive city. When the trash barges show up, almost guaranteed these people who show up on the barges trying to escape communism or socialism had a hand in making it happen. All right. And honestly, it's been long enough that people should learn the consequences of the systems that they push for. So let them have at it. Mm. All right, that's enough societal, political, economical. That's enough for me for right now. If you like the video, like it. If you'd be so gracious as to subscribe, by all means, definitely, we appreciate it. Um, Check out the site, spaceconsulting.com, for your personal and business consulting needs. Check out the Substack for the occasional story, which we do write and put out there, which hopefully is, quality content for you. You can subscribe to that. I think it's $5 a month, but and we don't paywall articles. What we do is we do the $5 a month, and then every month we have a discount code that knocks down the price of the normal site services. I think that covers everything. I've been Michael, and I will see you guys next time.